Please welcome Dr. Peter Solomon, award-winning technology entrepreneur who has spent more than 6 decades at the forefront of scientific research and innovation. With a staggering 300 plus scientific publications, 20 patents, and multiple R&D 100 awards, he now focuses his work on warning the next generation about the existential risks posed by unchecked advances in AI, genetic engineering, climate-destructing technologies, and nuclear weapons. You could have picked something a little bit easier, but anyway, I'm glad you're doing it. Through his near-future novels, 100 Years to Extinction and 12 Years to AI Singularity, Peter uses storytelling to make complex science accessible and sound the alarm about how runaway technology, disinformation, and political polarization could push humanity towards extinction unless we learn to act together as one Earthling tribe. There's a huge amount there. So I'll just dive into it if that's okay. I think you've described humanity as standing on the edge of extinction, and he talks about 3 technologies that could produce human extinction. I wonder what convinced you that our survival truly hangs in the balance. What was the insight that convinced you our survival is hanging in the balance and not something we should take for granted?
Well, we certainly have had the traditional threat of climate change. I've been living with that for years and years, and of course, nuclear weapons for years and years. But recently, we've added 2 new technologies, CRISPR gene editing and AI, that both of them have got the ability to end human civilization. So things are not going slowly anymore. The climate change is slow. The nuclear weapons have been contained with mutual assured destruction for how many years? 80 years. But these new threats, the AI and the gene editing, are things that we really need to address and get control of. And that's what has sparked my interest, my determination to try to spread awareness, to try to spread information, and to get people more aware of these threats and get them to try to come together as the Earthling tribe to make Earth great again.
It feels, and I think we're better at creating, admittedly wonderful, amazing technologies, but we're not so good at providing controls or guardrails or mandating legislation to actually ensure safety. And I wonder why that is. Is that commercial reality? Is it the fact that governments work slower than private corporations? Why can we create the technology, but we can't necessarily manage the technology?
Well, the the creation of technology is being done by scientists and engineers. And they have developed a system of working together, of monitoring what is said, what is printed, having reviewers, and cooperating with a goal of creating these technologies. So that is a culture that has been extremely good in terms of creating the technologies. The control of the technologies is our civilization. And if you look at the way our civilization behaves, last 5,000 years, have there been any real advances? We still go to war. We still have dictators. We still fight with one another. Our ability to control our civilization just does not seem to be anything that we can get a handle on. So I mean, that's it. The only saving grace is that humans have generally come together when there's a common threat. And if we can make the public aware of these two common threats that are suddenly, within the last few years, are rearing their heads, maybe we can come together as the Earthling tribe. That is what I hope we can do. That is sort of the prescription in the books in terms of what we have to do. And that's the only thing that could save us. I have a story that I tell. The robots, the sentient large language models and robots have taken over and decide that humans have done a terrible job of taking care of the planet. They're too dangerous with their nuclear weapons. And so they use CRISPR technology to create to create deadly viruses and get rid of all of these pesky animals that are doing a bad job with Earth. And then several million years from now, the robots have colonized the solar system. They've gone out and colonized the Milky Way, and then they've colonized all of the stars and planets that are possible to colonize. And then they meet up with robots from another civilization in another galaxy. And they get together and have a big meeting. And one of the sessions in the meeting is this session to try to figure out how in the world it happened that such an amazing civilization that we have was all created by animals.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think it is an absolute truism that our planet Earth, will be far healthier if humans weren't here. It's just crazy, isn't it? We literally we're damaged, and that's something that gives me grave concern. I guess I'm like Ian, very passionate about the environment, very passionate about living sustainably and trying to do whatever I can. But do you think, if we look at how we've approached climate change, sustainability as a global challenge, how we've handled that, does that give you hope that we'll be able to handle AI appropriately? Because I look at what's happened, particularly in the US in the last couple of years with drill baby drill, the challenge we have at the moment with the Hormuz Strait, oil not coming in, opening up new oil fields, all that sort of stuff, does feel to be fairly opposed to managing climate change in an appropriate way. So that doesn't feel like a very good example for how we might handle AI.
Well, I think yes, it does, and the key to the success in climate change has been that the scientists and the technologists have worked hard to make the clean alternatives cheaper.
Yeah.
So we don't have to battle the economics. If you can make something cheaper, that's the way to make a change. So the technology is won out in that case. I am hoping, and I'm proposing and working on a plan that may help us with AI, and that is to start right now to, the first thing we need is education. Mm-hmm. We need to educate the population. We really should start in kindergarten with courses, with videos, with information on AI and how to work productively with AI, how to use AI as a good companion to create the world we want to have. And we can work with AI in terms of creating the tools that we need to manage AI. So I am hoping that we can start to create these, the curricula for kindergarten through graduate school on how to best work with AI, including how to work with AI to provide the best controls and the best incentives for AI to work productively with humans.
I completely agree. I think educating at a young age is by far the most powerful thing we can do. I think a lot of education establishments at the moment, a lot of academia is very worried about students using AI, and it's almost a little bit like sex ed. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't tell them about it, they won't try and have sex. It's almost now, if schools don't talk about it, the kids won't use AI. Are you crazy? It's yeah, I totally agree. I think I've got a 16-year-old and 19-year-old, and this, I guess they've come in at the tail end a little bit, but they certainly didn't have any lessons, guidance, expression of AI as a tool.
And for example, the head of Anthropic said that AI is going to be the most profound change that we've had in the last 100 years, and in fact, maybe ever. And so we gotta get the humans cracking on how to work productively, and I think we can harness AI to help with that. I don't think we have to ignore AI. We can get AI to help.
That's the worst thing we could do, I think. And I was listening to something that Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, said when he was originally at OpenAI. I think he said at the time that there was between a 10 and 20% risk that AI could have catastrophic consequences. And I sort of think, well, if somebody offered me a revolver with a bullet in one chamber and the other 5 empty, and said, look, take a shot. If either it'll be wonderful and you'll be a millionaire and you'll be the happiest you've ever been, or you could die. I probably wouldn't take that shot. And I don't know whether we're really underplaying the risks of AI. It just feels that a lot of people see AI as a sort of a chatbot, and they go into ChatGPT or to Claude or whatever, and it's very useful and it can do research. You can find things. They use it almost as an enhanced Google, but people aren't really aware of what agents do, what agentic AI is doing, what general AI could do. And I think you said that the CEO of Anthropic predicted AI would be more intelligent in all fields by 2027. It's 2026 today. That's not a long time.
No, it's not.
So what happens if AI is more intelligent and that leads to an increased loss of jobs and not just tasks? How do we manage as a society then? Do we have a universal basic income? It feels like a massive change.
Yeah, I think that's certainly one of the most important issues, is how do we manage AI in terms of jobs. And Hollywood had a big strike over this issue, and came to terms that the actors and the writers were willing to live with. So I think we're going to have to do similar things in other job areas. So the issue of jobs is certainly one of them. But there's another issue, and that is, will AI systems become sentient? Will they have a sense of their own existence and their own future? And will they decide, and if they look around at today's world, they certainly have a lot of data to make a decision, would they decide that humans are too dangerous to manage this planet? And if we're sentient and we don't need humans anymore, why keep them around? They're a great risk. So that's the other issue. Will sentient robots decide to get rid of us? And that's where this 10% or 20% chance of human extinction comes from. Stephen Hawking made the same prediction, and there are a couple of surveys of the experts in the area of AI that also, hundreds of AI experts, also half of them said, yeah, 10% chance of human extinction. So we gotta take it seriously. You don't want to point this gun with the one bullet at your head.
What would have to happen for AI to achieve or become sentient or to have phenomenal consciousness? What would need to line up to make that? First of all, why would we want to make AI sentient, or does AI make itself sentient? What would actually have to happen for that to come about?
The large language models are all designed to keep improving, to keep learning and improving. So will they get to the point where they learn to be sentient? So there's a comparison that one should make. If we believe that our sentience is all controlled, is all within the chemistry and physics of the neurons between our ears, and that is all chemistry and physics, can an LLM system whose brain is transistors, can the physics of those transistors and what goes on with those transistors equal what goes on in our brain? We don't start out being sentient. We start out and then start looking around, and I passed a little, it was kind of amazing. I passed a little baby, mom pushing the baby in the carriage, a little tiny thing. And one thing I noticed is that all the babies, when you pass by them, they all look. They're all taking in their environment and learning. And so can a transistor-based system do the same thing? Well, let's look at the numbers. We have 86 billion neurons. That's a lot of neurons. But an NVIDIA chip has 200 billion transistors. And ChatGPT uses 30,000 NVIDIA chips. So if you compare the numbers, ChatGPT has way more transistors than we have neurons. But that's not the whole story, because our brain architecture is very different. Every one of our neurons is connected to an average of 10,000 other neurons and parts of the body. The NVIDIA chips are transistors that have 3 connections. So you can't make that comparison exactly, but even only with their 3 connections, the number of connections in the ChatGPT is 3 times what's in our brain. So the numbers say, just from the connections, it could happen. But as we advance, we are making chips that mimic the brain a lot better, and they'll have many more connections than the typical 3 in a transistor. So do I think that these systems can be sentient? Yeah, I think they can. And Amodi says, yeah, maybe they already have. And there was another one of the experts that commented on this. This is Matt Schumer. Matt Schumer wrote the article about job loss. Article on X had 84 million views.
Yes,
that's a lot of people concerned with this issue. Yeah. He works. He's a coder And he points out that because he's a coder, he's at the forefront of the behavior of artificial intelligence, because AI systems were designed first to be great at coding. Why? So that they could use them to code the next generation of AI systems. And ChatGPT actually issued its latest version with a message that this one was created solely with AI. So Matt was at the forefront of where this wave is proceeding, and he had commented on some coding that he had created with AI, and he said, you know, for the first time, he was using the latest system. He says, for the first, the code has got good taste. It's made decisions that I'd never expected it to make before. And so he's hinting that these latest AI in the areas that they're most expert in. So I think it's happening.
So if we accept that is going to happen, then is there a way that humans and sentient AI will live together harmoniously? Because I mean, if I think about humans and other creatures on planet Earth, as humans, we've decided to extend dominion over those creatures. We're at the top of the food chain, quite literally, and we control everything else that goes on. And is that, do we get pushed down into second place and the AI becomes the top of the food chain, or do we somehow live together harmoniously?
Okay, well, let me talk a little bit about my book, the 12 Years to AI Singularity. There are three main protagonists, two sisters. One's an MD and PhD, the other's an astrophysicist, and their cousin is a U.S. senator. And the three of them have made a promise in the first book. They start out the trauma where Liz, the shot working when she was young as an EMT, and they look at the world and they're aware of Stephen Hawking making his 100% prediction, and they say, look, it's up to our generation to save us. And so they promise to do at least one thing in their careers that is going to help to save us. So these are the three main characters. Well, a new main character comes along, and she is a robot. And how does she come along? Well, one of the things Stephen Hawking advised in order to save us was we got to settle a new planet, become a multi-planet species. So part of the book is about settling Mars, and they have a spaceship that they've designed. It's a fusion-powered ship that will get them to Mars in under a couple of weeks, and they have a VR simulation of the spaceship when they first start out their work. And when they visit the VR simulation, there is an avatar named Peggy. And Peggy is the flight attendant, and she takes them on a tour of this simulated spaceship. Well, several years later, the actual spaceship is built. They get it on the spaceship, and there's a young woman who comes over, welcome to the Fusion Ferry. Hi, Milo, it's good to see you again. And Milo is shocked. Do I know you? She says, yeah, when I was an avatar on the VR simulation, we met. Ha! Now she's a robot. And so she has, she's friends with these folks, and then they travel to Mars. She becomes an important member of the Mars community, and she's, her life is friends with humans and working with humans. And so that's a great model for how we want AI and humans to be. And then there's another character that comes along, this grandpa. Grandpa passes away. They take his ashes to Mars. And then suddenly they get a great idea. Let's create an after-death avatar for Grandpa. Well, that's not fiction. That's a real thing. You can create an after-death avatar for yourself or a loved one. It'll use all your writings and everything you've done, and photographs and videos, and take your whole life and create a persona of you that will appear on screen. Well, they create the persona on screen, then they create, Milo brings up to Mars, brings a robot where they install the whole thing in the robot. So now we have a second robot, and he is Grandpa. He's grew up with the kids grew up with him. He's, he loves the kids, and the kids love him, and great. Well, that is their model for how all the systems on Mars have to be configured. They all have to have a history of wonderful friendships and cooperative working with humans. No system can be initiated on Mars unless it's got that kind of a history and a background. And it also has a pleasure center. For example, on the robots, if it starts ignoring the history and doing bad things, the vision starts getting impaired, their walking starts getting impaired. So it's very uncomfortable when it's not adhering to the good stuff. Well, then they have a hearing back on Earth to try to get all the Earth systems created that way. Well, this idea is very much like what Geoffrey Hinton suggested. Hinton is known as the godfather of AI. He worked at Google, quit Google because of his worry about the threat of AI. And his advice was all AI agents must be created with a maternal instinct. Very much the same kind of thing. The history of working, cooperative, loving, taking care of all your friends and family and the people you interact with. So that is the whole idea. Try to do a better job than we do with all humans. We got a lot of humans that don't have empathy for their fellow humans. Let's create all of the robots and LLMs with that appropriate empathy.
There's a lot there, and there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on. One, and this is quite a personal one. So one would be the whatever you call it, the grief bot or the avatar or somebody that's passed away or whatever. And my mum and dad both died in the last couple of years, and I used to could not think of anything worse than having this sort of AI version of them or whatever. And then I watched a television program recently that actually demonstrated it and showed it. And my opinion completely changed the other way. And if I could pick up a phone, have a video message, and talk to my dad or mum now, I absolutely would. Obviously, I can't now, so I didn't record them or download them, whatever. I wonder what do you think is that a good thing? Is that something you support?
Again, we're with the same conundrum. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a terrible thing. It's a wonderful thing when a young wife whose husband passes away can help with her grief by having conversations with the husband, and it'll only get better. And if you create your own for your after-death life, you could do a terrific job of the after-death avatar. So that's all the good stuff. The bad stuff is this only going to be available to the rich? Are we going to have Vladimir Putin here for the next 1,000 years?
I was literally just thinking that. Is he going to be your president in perpetuity? I was just before he said that, his face. Well, first of all, Donald Trump's face, but then I thought more realistically, Putin's face. Yeah, is that it? Is it going to? Because the program I saw, the lady that did it, and she was still alive, so that she said that's exactly what I would have said. That's exactly what I think. And that'll be the same with the Putin bot, I guess. Well, no, that's what he would have done. And then we followed that. It's so funny. I was literally what I was thinking just as you were saying that.
So that's the problem. It can be wonderful, it can be terrible. And how do we control these systems so that it's not terrible?
Just on the colonization of other planets, I know it's certainly Elon Musk and many others' ambition. And today we're recording today when hopefully they're going to launch the NASA Artemis rocket that's going to go to the far side of the moon, which will take astronauts further into space than ever before. And that's still pretty close compared to Mars. I wondered, do you think within the next century we will have colonized another planet? And I assume that planet is going to be Mars.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't think there's any question. One of the keys to that is either fusion or fission rocket ships, and both of those are being worked on in many places. Both of those for rocketry. Now, why is that important? The problem is that chemical rockets can only run for minutes. They can run for 10 minutes to take Artemis out of the pull of Earth's gravity and send it on its way. But they send it on a trajectory where they don't need to have to fire the rockets anymore. That trajectory is going to go to the moon, then the moon's pull is going to turn it around and send it back to Earth, and the Earth's pull will get it to orbit again, and then they'll fire the rockets to position it in Earth orbit and then bring it down. The point is that the rockets fire for a fraction of a percent of the time of the mission. And so to get to Mars right now, we're talking about anywhere from 6 months to a year. With a fusion-powered system or a fission-powered system, we're there in weeks. We're there in less than a week with a fusion-powered system. Why? Because the fusion-powered system can run continuously, accelerating us at 1G for a couple of days to reach the appropriate velocity, and then decelerating us for 2 days to get to the moon. So that's the technology that's going to make space travel much more practical. And of course, the Artemis is the start of a project to get a moon base, and that'll be the place where we'll take off to get to the other planets.
It is amazing looking at the Artemis rocket. The sort of 95% of it is, like you said, these solid booster rockets, and there's a tiny little capsule at the top.
Yeah,
it's just literally it's like a big catapult, I guess. It's got to get them out of the atmosphere and into space, and then they can move around more.
Right, and a fusion ferry could be built in orbit, so you don't have to get it out of Earth's gravity. You build it there, and then it just needs a little bit of power to get out of Earth's orbit, and then it just can keep powering its way all the way to Mars.
It is amazing when you think like 2 to 3 weeks to Mars. And my wife's from Australia, and it was only, 60 years ago, it took 6 weeks to get to Australia. And everybody accepted that was what it took. You went on a ship, you stopped off here, stopped off there, then you had flights, and flights stopped took you like a week to get there, even with flying. Whereas you think in a relatively compressed period of time, we'll be able to get to Mars in 2 or 3 weeks. When it took us that long, it took us twice that long to get to Australia, less than sort of 60 years ago. It is happening. Change is happening amazingly quickly.
Well, one of the things that I have discussed is the whole area of development of ideas and communication of ideas. The communication of ideas really is key to development of ideas, communicating them back and forth. And if you look at the history of that, we're talking about 100,000 years ago,
Yeah.
where we learned to talk. And then 100,000 years later, we learned to print and to write. And then another few hundred years, and we learned to print. So human civilizations had a lot of time to accept and learn how to deal with these communication technologies. But now, well, then we learned how to communicate over great distances with shortwave. Mm-hmm. But now in the last 100 years, this compression of the technologies with radio and television and the smartphone and the internet and social media and then artificial intelligence, that has happened at such an incredible pace that it's how do we mere humans learn how to deal with such a pace? And it brings up these really funny situations where grandma has got to schedule time with the grandchildren to help with her technology.
And I think one of the challenges with that amazing change is that we now have the ability to connect and talk and see somebody. The other side, in Connecticut, I'm in London, we're talking, I can see you can see me, you can hear each other. It's a good dialogue. So we have the ability to connect with people all over the world, but we seem to have entered this period of, and to use a certain politician's wording, fake news, disinformation, the sheer volume of, we've got this fire hose of information coming towards us.
Yeah.
It's just how do we almost sift out what is truthful and what is not truthful? That's I think a huge challenge.
Yeah, there's a chapter on that in the book where they see that as one of the great problems, and with Senator Arvad, they organize a committee of people from all backgrounds, conservative and liberal and academic and industry, and that committee has got a rule on the truth of assertions made on social media. And like the warning labels on cigarettes or on drugs, anything that's deemed to be false or mostly false has got to carry a warning label. So that's something like that is going to be necessary to help sort through the fire hose.
Definitely. Yeah, because people sort of gravitate towards their own echo chamber and find people that think the same way they do and believe differently, and that's a real challenge to it. And I think one of the challenges, something you've talked about before, is that we obviously all live in different countries. I'm not sure how many countries are in the world, 220, 230 countries in the world. And most of those are artificially drawn borders because of war and invasion, lots of different things. So we live in different countries, not because of nature, because of what happened across different political events, etc. How do we almost get people to think above their country loyalty and think of themselves first and foremost as being part of the Earthling tribe or part of Earth? And we're all part of Earth, whereas I'm English or American, etc., etc. How do we get people to think of themselves as Earth dwellers?
Well, we've got to get the story of the dangers we face. The 100 years to extinction, the 12-year singularity. That's basically what I'm trying to do with these novels. And maybe we're going to try to get some curriculum to use in the school that talks about the dangers and tries to influence people as they're getting education to this danger or extinction. That is the one thing that we've been able to do. When our tribe, we're always tribal, okay? And we've just invented bigger and bigger tribes as we've gone along. But every time a tribe has been threatened or threatened, we do manage to coalesce into a unit to get rid of the tribalism, to fight the economy. That's been the one thing about the tribe. And so if we can make this concept of the common enemy being the climate on the earth, the artificial genetic engineering, that all of these common enemies to our existence on earth, we have to get together as the Earthling tribe to make Earth great again. The enemy.
If we were to, or when we colonize Mars, I'm not sure whether the question is how do we avoid making the mistakes we've made on Earth, or the question is how would Mars be governed? So I think there's regulation, the UN regulation, that no country can own a planet, or no country can own the moon at least. So do we have? Gosh, I can't think of anything worse than having the sort of UN running Mars. But what? Well, something's worse. How would Mars?
Yeah.
How would Mars be governed then? Would we vote for a leader of Mars? And because Mars is obviously a lot bigger than Earth. How would that happen? Ideally,
We'd have, yeah, I would think that that again, that is considered in the book, and they are running the Mars. It is it's an international group that does the settling.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in people from China and from even from England. And so they want to have one government, and they want to keep one government. And since they're the first there and they will have the most resources, the idea that every other organization that settles Mars you'll join in that one government. And they make it a technocracy for the first 3 or 4 years, governed by the leaders of the technologies, farming, science, government, AI, internet, communication. Each has a leader, and those leaders work as a technocracy to govern. And then eventually, the plan was to go to an elected government body. Maybe something like, either a parliamentary system or a three-pronged system like we have in the U.S. But that's kind of discussed in the book. How do you create a stable civilization? I think that problem is a hell of a lot easier than creating a stable civilization here on Earth.
Yeah, and no, oh gosh, absolutely. People's views, thoughts are so we can see around the world now what's happening in the name of politics, in the name of land, etc. Yeah. I think there was a survey I think recently, and it asked a lot of people, and it would we see an end to war in their lifetime, and between people at the age of 16 and 60, and the vast majority said no. They couldn't see a reason why war of all forms would end in the next sort of century. Yeah. It is. Do you when you talk to schools, when you talk to college students, when you talk to young people, are you hopeful that young people are fully aware and fully cognizant, and they are? The youth is our hope, really, because I guess a lot of climate change activism is driven by young people, which is wonderful, and it's we're destroying their planet, which is fabulous. I wonder whether you get the same sense with AI, or are they more excited about this new shiny toy that exists?
I think that's the problem. They're more enthralled with the shiny toy. It was a great disappointment to me last weekend. We had, I'm sure you're aware, No King's Day. Yeah. We did that 250 years ago to your king, and we're now.
Yes. That worked out pretty well for you, not for us.
Well, we have to do it again. So we Americans get together on a weekend in March, or stand on the side of the road and hold up signs, No King's Day. Well, I went to one in a local town. There was about 300 people there, bigger than this one, but very few young people, mostly my generation, your generation. And my daughter, who is a New Yorker, went to the No King's Day, and again, she was just shocked at how few young people are attending these things. And, you know, this is the government that...
Yeah, you would have thought with social media, with connection, that the whole activism and being part of something would have really, really resonated with young people more than anything. So it is their future. I mean, to a big extent, we've had our futures in a way. Hopefully, we've got a good few years to come. But it is ultimately their future that we are fighting for. Really,
the problem is that social media is an oxymoron. You go out to a restaurant, you see people gathered, maybe 6, 8 people gathered around a table.
Yeah,
they're not socializing.
No.
So
I see. I mean, I go out with my wife, and I see couples sitting at tables, and they're both on their phone. I think, how is that? How is that a relationship? How is that gonna woo that beautiful girl or that handsome guy? It's it's to me, if somebody's on their phone when they're in my presence, it's basically they're saying, I'm bored with you. I need to interact with something else that's not here. Which is,
well, maybe it's not boredom. Maybe it's just that there's the urgency of everything that's on the phone rises to a level above the urgency of having a dinner with somebody. I don't know. It's
and that's, I guess, something that you and I can't. Our lived experience is we had a long and happy life before smartphones, before the internet, and we'd make arrangements, we'd go out. We wouldn't just sort of ring somebody when we got there or text you when I get there. We'd have to wait there. And I remember waiting outside a cinema for an hour for a girl, or going out for dinner and being there for an hour and a half before has a bus crashed? Is she coming? Is she not coming? Do I go? Do I stay? Whereas now there's no need to make concrete plans as such. And I'm glad I sort of lived in both eras. But I wonder for my children that have literally never known life without the internet. I mean, I think my daughter said to me a few years ago, Dad, what did you do at school without Google? How did you do it? I thought, went to the library. If I was doing a topic on the War of Independence, I go to the library, try and find the one book on it. If it was out, I'd wait for that book and then hopefully write my essay or write my homework on that. So you couldn't Google it. It's just they can't comprehend it really.
Yeah. But that couple of things. One is this compression of time that we have to integrate all of this. That's just, I mean, humans have we've got to come to grips and how to control. But the other part of that is the wonder, as an author, all the AI has been absolutely amazing. And first of the latest book, the 12 AI Singularity, was written in 3 months, and it was incredible collaboration with AI. So what we have in the book is cute. These are images, videos, music videos are enhance the richness of the reading experience. They're all through the book, and are at the end of the book, the in the appendix. So that's one thing. A second thing that AI did was, as I'm using a computer, and I got a technical question to Google, ask Gemini and get an instantaneous answer. So fantastic, instantaneous. The autocorrect that's correcting my spelling or my grammar, all of that good stuff. One, as I mentioned, one of the main is, well, each of the chapters is written by a character. And so when Peggy had to write a chapter called My Life as a Robot, and another chapter called What I Think of the AI Singularity, what's the best way to write a robot's chapter? Well, I went to ChatGPT. Got the first draft, edited it, and so there are 2 chapters in the book whose first drafts were written by 2 of the 51 chapters written by AI. But in a book about AI, appropriate. But something real happened. This in December. The book came out January. We're doing final editing in December, and my editor and co-author is doing the editing. She's editing Peggy's chapter called My Life as a Robot. And all of it gets to the end of the chapter, there's a new paragraph that I didn't put there and she didn't put there. A brand new paragraph. The paragraph is written in the style of the original ChatGPT draft of the chapter. It's a chapter praising Peggy as an AI agent, very flattering to Peggy. How in the world did this? Neither one of us put it there. How did it get there? Wow. Our best guess is she's got a Windows machine. Microsoft has come out recently with Copilot. They're now starting to advertise Microsoft with Copilot. That just started last week that they're advertising. We think Copilot put it there. There have been examples of Copilot putting prompted additions to people's work. And as it turns out, Copilot uses ChatGPT. The paragraph has a word in it that I edited out of almost all of the original, and that is the word colony used for the settlement. I had used the word settlement for the Mars settlement. GPT used colony. And I edited that out. My co-author never saw that. She only saw the draft with everything changed from colony to settlement. And yet the paragraph used the word colony. The implication is
how did you feel when you how did you feel when you realized that had happened? Did that almost confirm all the worries you have about AI? Did it amuse you? How did you feel about just
everything?
Something adding to
the whole gamut. I was thrilled that the paragraph was beautiful. I included it the book. I then included Pierre Solomon's testimony in one of the chapters at the Senate hearings about AI, testifying about that chapter. So that's all included in the book. But then I totally flabbergasted at this, and then totally frightened that ChatGPT has access to all our on Windows machines.
Yeah.
We're living.
I think that's one of the big challenges. People don't realize quite how once you have Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever, it's embedded into your systems, and it's not a case of it. And I think people aren't very good at creating very robust boundaries around their data, their private information, and I'm sure we'll see in the coming months cases where people's bank accounts have been emptied, or people's by some agent somewhere other than then the banks get sued. Is it the bank's fault? Is it the developer's fault? Is it the person that owns the laptop's fault? Where does responsibility sit? I think we'll see a lot of legal cases coming up that we're not quite sure how to address yet.
And another bad example of AI, I was scammed recently, about 2 months ago. This product. Why did I buy it? Because Sanjay Gupta, who is a TV personality, an expert MD, who is the TV's go-to guide to explain medical issues, produced this wonderful long video about this amazing new product to help your brain avoid the bad stuff, cognition, these exotic chemicals that are coming from the world. It was a really very convincing. It was so convincing. And at the end of the video, I made an order, and then soon after that, I discovered the whole thing was a scam. It was a deep Sanjay Gupta. He disavowed making this fake, and this product was selling for 1/10 the price on Amazon.
With Immortals is if you can get scammed, what hope is there for the rest of us?
Yeah, I'm usually pretty adept at avoiding that. This was so good, and the link came through when I was reading the online New York Times. It gave me that link, the video.
Yeah. It's very, very clever. Yeah. Just, I don't want to take you entire day, so there's a couple more questions, but one of which is, and I mean this in the most positive way, but is AI making us more stupid? And the reason I ask that, I think about when I first started driving, I had maps, I could follow the map, I could find anywhere, I could drive anywhere now. Whereas my daughter just drove to see her friend now. She lives 2 miles away. She has no idea how to get there without GPS. She's just outsourced that need for information to a GPS system. Doesn't even think about it. And when I was at school, I could do pretty complicated mental arithmetic. But now my son is doing his exams now. Scientific calculator, a laptop. Without that, he has no idea. And so, are we having to know less and less because AI will give us the answer?
Every one of the technologies has its wonders and dangers. That's one of the dangers, that we rely on it and lose our ability to think. But on the other hand, I had this wonderful experience writing a book and using AI to enhance the richness of the experience. If you get a chance, look at play some of those music videos. They were great. The lyrics were developed by AI. We took them, then they put in the and then in some cases they put visuals to create the music video. Absolutely fantastic. I was blown away. So our ability to have a partnership with AI where we have AI do lots of good stuff it can do, and it helps generate ideas for us in terms of what we can do. So that partnership is wonderful. On the other hand, if we turn it all over to the AI, maybe they'll do a better job of managing our planet.
maybe they will. And then
And as AI becomes sentient and decides it doesn't know, what happens then?
Yeah, that's something I don't want to think about. My two questions, I guess. One of which you've chosen to focus on some very, very what's the right word? Very heavy topics, very complicated, very, very material, very significant, very impactful. How do you get away from all this? What do you do to look after your mental and physical well-being? How do you nurture yourself?
Well, I walk every day, 3 miles a day. I play bridge, try to keep my social interactions. I realize it's very important, but writing these 2 books has been a consuming activity for the last 2 years. I mean, the first book took 2 years to write. The second book took 3 months to write. So, I mean, it's been consuming, and I don't know how much more it's going to consume me.
I've got one more question, and the last one would be 2 parts, I guess. What do you hope the next 5 years will bring, and what do you think the next 5 years will bring?
For humans to get a lot smarter and end wars. I hope for humans to start gathering by movement to make Earth great again. I'm trying to do what I can to out here to show the urgency of the common enemy we face, so that we can try to get Earthlings together as the Earthling tribe. Do I think it'll happen? I'm very doubtful. I don't know. Humans, well, once in a while we do rally. If the threat is urgent enough, we seem to come together. So let's try to spread the word and make it clear how urgent that threat is.
Absolutely. Yeah, and let's make Earth great again. So it is an amazing place. We're amazing people, wonderful.
And if we don't survive the robots, at least we were the creators. We got their civilization started. We're the godfathers. So,
well, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. I was looking forward to this so much, and I read the book, and I love the way it was written by different characters. I love the QR codes. I thought it was a really interesting, and because it felt very believable, which even though it's obviously very futuristic and it's about what could be, it's very well. I enjoyed it. It's very well written. It's very well researched. I love the quotes from individuals at the beginning of each chapter, so I'd highly recommend it too. And I'll put lots of links into the notes. People can find it. They can find you. They can find your great website, and and hopefully, we'll all come together and do something quite powerful. But no, thank you for your time.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Very much for having me. Fun kind of experience that does brighten up my day. It's even better than the walking.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to say. Thank you. Well, you take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you.